Well, Donald Trump is not backing down from his tariff blitz against India despite New Delhi calling out his double standards on imports from Russia. Although India strongly objected to the 25% tariff imposed on its exports to the US due to its Russian oil purchases, citing how the US itself continues to buy uranium salt, palladium for EV cells, fertilizers and chemicals from Moscow, the American president has issued a fresh executive order slapping an additional 25% duty on India, once again citing its Russian oil purchases, taking the total up to 50%.
US President Donald Trump has slapped an additional 25% tariff on goods from India, taking the total tariff up to 50%. Trump's reason for the skyrocketing tariff is India's import of Russian oil. But what surprises the world is when India exposed American trade ties with Russia, Trump shocked the world by admitting that he had no knowledge that the United States imports Russian chemicals and fertilizers.
India says that the US imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that.
Earlier, India had called the targeting of the country unjustified and unreasonable. India's BRICS partner, Brazil, has taken a firm stand with its president saying he will invite Trump for COP30 in Belém, but not to discuss tariffs.
And you think I won't call Trump? I'm not going to try to convince him of anything he doesn't want to talk. But you can be sure, Marina, I will call Trump to invite him to the COP because I want to know what he thinks about the climate issue.
Some, like the EU, have already struck a deal, while many others are rushing for talks. Following the EU-US deal, a few businesses in Europe heaved a sigh of relief, but for many, it was a burden on business.
Of course, it is a burden on business because our products are becoming more expensive for American customers. That is quite clear. But it must be said that we have no direct American competition in our sectors. This means that American customers have to buy from outside the US anyway.
To make matters worse, Trump threatened to impose a staggering 35% tariff if the EU fails to meet investment promises agreed to it in the 27th of July deal. The EU has pledged to purchase $700 billion of US energy and make new investments worth $600 billion by 2028.
No, it's very hard to see how the EU is going to get this done. And of course, the Trump threat of 35% tariff, if they don't make the number, is very much in line with what everybody has been warning about, that Trump is unpredictable.
In Switzerland, the announcement of 39% tariffs on Swiss goods resulted in dismay among firms, which are now bracing for steep decline in US sales.
The taxes are enormous. Brewery is a niche product that's already very expensive to begin with, and unfortunately, people who can still afford brewery in the United States will pay more for it. So, I think it's to the detriment of the American people.
Moving to South Korea, confusion still persists over the timing of promised tariff cuts on the country's car exports to the US from the current level of 25%.
The US will apply 15% tariffs to South Korea from the 7th of August through an executive order to revise reciprocal tariff rate. However, further discussions are needed with the US side on the timing of tariff cuts on autos.
The mood in Taiwan is no different either, especially among orchid growers who see a steep decline in orders from US firms. Prasar Ahmed reports for DD India.